Hi everybody, today we are joined by Kentaro Nakagomi, who is the creative director of Coherence and Orbium, and one of my favorite creative directors in any field, in any country, everywhere. I love your work, and I'm super, super happy that we're finally seeing each other after 2.5 years, which is a long freaking time. Let's get into it. You know, Coherence for me personally is like the best coats. Like if anyone asks for a coat, I'll just be like, just go buy Coherence, it's fine. You'll always be happy with Coherence. Can you tell us a little bit about your career? Like from when you started to like today, now that you have this successful overcoat brand as well as a new brand called Orbium, how did you get there?
I've been in this industry since graduate art university, majored textile design, and then design school for the cutting and designing. After that, I joined to started my career as an in-house designer for the English-Japanese label. And in the same time, I learned about cutting and sewing as an apprentice with a Japanese tailor who trained in Naples, well trained. So then I began, how can I say, step up my career as a director for the label, and then now I working as a creative director for the Coherence from 2014 and Orbium for 2018. Now I have working as a design manager for a men's label and also some project from foreign countries like from EU or mainly North America or something like that.
You know what, let's talk a little bit about that, because that's actually something I think a lot of people might not understand. So you are part of a bigger Japanese fashion company. Like Coherence is a brand within a bigger Japanese fashion company.
Yes,
right?
it's actually Coherence, like how can I say, venture under the umbrella company. So belong to the umbrella company, under the umbrella company, and I start my own label, supported by the company.
I see. Okay, and so you take care of Coherence as well as Orbium, but you also do some work across other brands in the group too.
Yes, and other offer from foreign countries from EU, as I mentioned. So
I see.
Yeah, and actually, Orbium is a kind of how can I say, combined project with a production company based in Florence. So that's why kind of a triangle project.
I see.
Me and the Italian company and umbrella company. So.
I see. Interesting. Okay. What made you want to start Coherence?
Simply, I was one of the biggest fan of the overcoat. So for me, so overcoat is one of the, how can I say, most romantic item for menswear. For example, like same like a black little dress for women.
Yeah.
So overcoat is how can I say, finish up the outfit for men. So and in the same time, so at the moment, I felt slightly difficult to find a good one in the market for me. So that's why I would like to start it. So that's why.
I think it shows. I mean, there aren't that many brands that focus just on overcoats, and even the ones that do specialize in overcoats, the designs change a lot. Whereas, like for Coherence, the models are pretty consistent, but each year you'll do new variations of the model. Like that's kind of the style that you work in. Right? Your background in textile design, I think, is also a big part of that.
Yep.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about your textile design when it comes to Coherence?
From my educational step, so my first thing was textile. Learn about it in art university, and I have a lot of interesting about that. So that's why. And unfortunately, Japanese environment of this industry accepting, how can I say, even though like us, very small brand, but if I would like to make very special thing with small lot, they can accept. So if I have a connection, so that's why sometimes we are making special yarn, and sometimes I set up the recipe of the raw material before yarn, so we can do that. So from my experience working in some other countries for production, so most of the already developed the country production lot is so huge. If I would like to make special one, so fortunately, yeah, I'm in Japan, and then I have a connection inside of the Japanese industry. So that's why this is the good chance to make our own fabric for put the good spice for our collection.
Yeah. Spice is a good word for it too, because this is something that a lot of viewers might not be aware of. Like, you can go to the open market, like the industry's market for fabrics, and you can find interesting fabrics, and you use those fabrics that already exist in the market, and you buy them and you turn them into garments. But for you, you go one step further. Like, you design the fabric from scratch, sometimes from raw material, and sometimes just the fabric itself. And that's one of the reasons why Coherence, in terms of like the fabric and the feel of it, is so different and so special. Like, a lot of the fabrics that you use, I feel like, are just not fabrics you would see in the marketplace, which I think is super interesting. Generally, your fabrics are all made in Japan, right?
Yes, yes. In the case of the Coherence, so fabric, spinning, and sewing, everything made in Japan, 100% made in Japan.
That's nice too, like to be able to have all those steps in one country, because there aren't that many countries that can actually do all of that in one country, right?
So.
And when you launched Coherence, so you launched Coherence in 2014, was it?
Earlier? 2015 autumn and winter season.
Okay. And when you launched Coherence, what were the models that you first launched with? Do you remember? I think I might remember, actually.
I thought there was 8 or 9 models, actually. So, of course, Matte, Al, Fufu, Kobe, and Clement was a duffel coat, and the Pulu is shawl color and fur color coat.
Yeah.
Maybe like that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Because the Armoury was like one of
first
your
customer.
first wholesale customers. Because we were introduced by Yamamoto-san.
Oh, yes.
Like, you've known Yamamoto-san. Yamamoto-san's one of our bespoke tailors at Tailorcade for a long, long time too. You guys have been kind of industry mates for a long time. What was your inspiration for starting this label in terms of like the models and even like the kind of figures behind the models? What was your inspiration for that?
I growing up with a familiar with how can I say, a variation of the art or culture or something. So that's why that was very natural for me to have an interest about that. And year by year, I also interested in an outfit of the artist, of course, with their work. So that's why, how can I say? And in the same time, artists or intellectuals or many of the writers, the way of existence of them is kind of a, how can I say, over the every kind of boundaries, for example, like genders or nationalities or culture background or age or race or everything. So I would like to make small brand, but I hope to make this brand as a small but brilliant, like a polished pearl, and communicate with it with whole world. So that's why that kind of way of existence of the artist is a nice tip for the approach for all around the world. So that's why I decide this kind of stories to drive with Coherence.
Because it's quite a sophisticated approach.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean, like, a lot of times I don't even know the artists or the philosophers that you're referencing in the designs. So then I have to go off and I have to like Google it and try to figure out who's who. But it's always fascinating to feel like I'm touching sort of like a legacy of like those artists, as well as touching your work at the same time. You know? And it's super interesting.
That kind of people is how can I say, beyond everything, for example, including social class, everything. So that's why easy to approachable for everybody else, for good story and very, how can I say, good for cultural input, of course.
Since the beginning of the brand, do you feel like it's kind of developed in the way you expected? Like, were you expecting Japan to be huge, Western market to be quite small, or was it the other way around? Like, what were your expectations when you first started the brand?
Beginning of our sales, for example, like start from how can I say first season of the Coherence. So we only exhibit in foreign countries. For example, like first of all, we hold showing our collection in Paris showroom and also New York. So that's why that's it. So I don't know why, but I'm a little bit afraid about Japanese market is a little bit different for this label. I don't know why, but I think like that. So and then in the same time, so beginning of the making concept of the Coherence. So as I said, so like to communicate all around the world with it. So that's why, first of all, start from sales our garment to foreign countries. But fortunately, from first season, few Japanese buyers found us in Paris and New York, so and place an order. So now 70% of our sales in foreign countries.
I see.
And rest of it in Japan.
I see. Interesting. Let's talk about the design a little bit. You know, one really important aspect of Coherence is that all the coats are not slim at all, right? They're really designed to be quite a full fit. Why did you want to do it that way?
Maybe my inspiration is from, how could I say, first half of 20th century mainly. So, another period, and also, how can I say, maybe that kind of shape is, for me, from my point of view, very rational for the item as an overcoat. Of course, once upon a time, air conditioning is not so well, of course, and then streets are a little bit muddy and wind is blowing, so that's why overcoat meaning as a protection from the weather, dust and rain and sometimes cold weather like that. So large silhouette is meaning as a protection, and also as a long hem is protection for the rain. So depends on the fashion, flow of the fashion. So sometimes, for example, like now, so catwalk show full of big silhouette.
Yeah, it's coming back.
But that kind of silhouette is the fashion.
Yeah.
So I think my item is, of course, part of every kind of item is including a fashion. Is kind of a feeling of that time, current time.
Yeah.
But in the same time, I believe my items is just simply focus on would like to make a good one product.
Yeah.
So that's why large silhouette is originally came from that kind of overcoat should be. So that's why.
Yeah.
And also in the same time, so I feel looks very lovely. Glamorous overcoat, moving by the walk and by the wind.
Yeah.
Is very romantic. So
Yeah.
And I'm much influenced from how can I say inspired from the kind of old movies and many of the outfit of the musicians or the artists. So that's why.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I feel like you don't really appreciate a Coherence coat when you just see a photo of it. You really need to see it in movement. And I think that the way you design the textiles, the way that you do the patterns, it really allows for movement in a very interesting way. Like it's very dramatic when you are wearing it and when you are moving in it. You know? Historical reference has always been a really, really big part of your work. Like you have a really detailed and deep archive. Can you tell us a little bit about how you put this archive together? Like how long you've been doing it? What are the sort of things you're looking for in this archive?
First of all, as my designers start from the, of course, as you know, just one portrait of the artist wearing some kind of outerwear. So, for example, like I decide this one. So start to research about similar item on, I'm start to correcting, or I reference my private archive from same period. And for example, like this, and in the same time, this kind of, how can I say, technical book, and I learn about the cutting or something, so, and combine together. But in the same time, most important thing is, I don't want to focus on, how can I say, just simply reproduction. So sometimes that kind of work is feeling like a, how can I say, competition of how completely looks like all things. So, but how can I say, I believe coherence correction is always have to be a contemporary. So that's why, even though my inspiration comes from the past, but every time I have to, I am doing, how can I say, translate for something contemporary. So after combine together every kind of old element, but finally translate for the contemporary things.
I love that approach. I think it's very interesting. You know, there are brands like, for instance, Real McCoy's. They make beautiful things. The quality is super high, and they're really, really dedicated to like recreating something that used to exist. They're dedicated to basically recreating like the perfect versions that used to exist. Whereas like Coherence is definitely about combining old and new and creating something definitely different from the past, maybe even better than the past. You know? Actually, it also reminds me of, we work with this watchmaker now, Hida, and Hida-san, I think, takes a very similar approach. Right? He's definitely taken a lot of inspiration from vintage things, but he has definitely added a lot of techniques that didn't used to exist when this design first appeared. And I think it's sort of the same for you too. Like, you have access to textiles and to yarns that just didn't exist when the design first came out either, right?
Yes, yes. For example, like you know, designer, Italian designer Achille Castiglioni. I love his work so much because most of the people thinking as his work is look very minimal and high tech and very cool. But I feel his work is always connect to the past and connect to the tradition. But every time he, how can I say, by his extraction, traditional element became very minimal as contemporary things. But in the same time, sometimes very popular stereotype of the contemporary design is too cool, and sometimes feel too cold. But design of the Castiglioni looks very cool and minimal, but in the same time very warm and feeling like his very famous big smile. So that kind of contemporary, minimal, but connect to the tradition and not too serious. With a smile or wink is very, how can I say, charming product for me. So
I think that sense of humor is really important. Because when you have a sense of humor, it just feels a lot more human as well. You know, I think that's a very important part of human culture. When it comes to your archive, do you look for certain things from certain design periods or things from certain countries?
My collection is mainly came from European area. Is mostly from European area. Of course, some pieces from United States and some pieces from, of course, Japan, and then sometimes one other is from Moroccan and like that. But mainly European. So,
are there any, like, for instance, I feel like you're very close to France, more so than many other designers that I've met. Like, you draw a lot of inspiration from like French color, from French designs as well. Would you say that's true?
Yes, I'm not so strictly set up. I focus on French, but yes, in honesty, big influence from French art culture, and for example, like a French movies on French kind of cultural stuff. So of course, so not only for French, but yes, actually, well, French is one of the big part of me.
I see.
French kind of stuff. No?
Yeah. Okay. why don't we have a quick look at some special things in your archive, and then we can move on to some other questions after that. Okay, what do you want to show us first?
This time I brought mostly kind of a technical stuff for the menswear. So this one is very old book, old kind of a book for tailors once in Italy. So cool. Each of this book have paper pattern and this kind of fashion plate.
Yeah, this is amazing. Wow, it's so big. I mean, obviously it needs to be the size of...
This one is actual size of the paper pattern.
It's actual size, wow. Yeah. And they do it in Italian and in French too, huh?
Yes.
It's so cool.
Because this kind of period, French and Italy is connect each other.
Yeah.
So close for the production, so that's why.
Yeah.
Because paletto a doppio petto in Italy, so this one is palto. Quasi.
Cool, okay, and how old would this be?
I thought, anyway, beginning of the 20th century, but 1935.
Wow. I don't want to damage it. Where did you get this from?
This one I get in Milan. So you know how would I say canal in Milan south side.
Ah, yeah.
Naviglio area.
I see. God, look at that. The illustrations are so beautiful too.
For my coherence works, this kind of actual, how can I say, technical text is very important for research.
There's ladies and men's too. Okay, and then what else we got?
This one from France, 1958. So this is kind of not a paper pattern, but there's many of the fashion plate inside. So of that period.
It's great that it has color now too.
Yeah. And maybe silhouette is very coherent. As you see.
This is beautiful. I love this.
Yeah. Maybe sleeve of the, how can I say, split sleeve and splitted raglan, and this is kind of a hammer sleeve.
Wow.
Once Chesterfield is a lot of doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. God, Chester Berry is a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yes. I love this kind of end of 50s and beginning of 60s. One of my favorite period because this kind of garment from this kind of period looks, how can I say, smelling good old stuff, but in the same time looks very modern.
Yeah.
Maybe we can wearable nowadays.
Yeah. Doesn't feel stuffy.
For
sure. And the proportions of the people are very interesting too. You know?
Very masculine.
Very masculine, but not like in the American way at the time too. Because the American way had much less of a waist to it. Like these have a really beautiful kind of hourglass or tapered shape, but not hourglass either.
This one is from 60s. This one including one very interesting fashion plate. I like this and something like.
I was wearing two overcoats. That's very unique.
Something like Monday to Tuesday, like that.
You need to make a Coherence lookbook like that.
Yeah, like how can I say, a gentleman version of the Barbie.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah, this is from France, and this one is from UK. So men about the town and spring. And,
but you know, so these were more like trade magazines, right?
Yes.
And this looks like more of a but it's by Tailor and Cutter too.
Yeah.
So is it still a trade magazine or is it more kind of a social magazine? Like
both, because many of how can I say, interesting column inside, but
still very detailed on clothing too.
But finally, how can I say, a seasonal recommendation from many of several tailors is there. So
It's interesting how they've gone from illustrations to photographs.
yes, maybe how can I say, this period until this period, not until, but this period. So UK is more developed and a rich country after World War II, I think.
I see. They had the latest photographic technology.
Yeah.
I'd say though, I think I prefer the illustrations to this.
The killer French number.
Oh,
yes.
man.
Sometimes
That is amazing.
illustration is, how can I say, more strong than photo. Sometimes.
I didn't know they were on Dover Street.
Oh.
Yeah, this is really old. They're on Dover Street too.
Yes.
She shows to Rei Kawakubo.
Yes. Other thing is that. So.
You know what's funny about these? Sometimes you can still see a little bit of like where they edited the photograph with a pen.
Yes, I think so.
You know?
I think so.
Like sometimes like pant lines like this. They
yeah.
just like cut it and then they like draw it in with a pen.
Yeah. And also some kind of Donegal fabric. How can I say?
Oh, they draw in the dots?
Draw by the, how can I say, pastel or something.
Yeah. It's a guy named Photoshop Smith working in the magazine office.
This one is United States, I think. Yep. 68 now. This is more total magazine now. But anyway.
It's funny, this one actually is much less graphic. A lot more text in this. Pretty cool though.
Yeah.
God, some of the fonts are beautiful though. Like, that's amazing. Where'd it go? I just saw it. Oh, I lost it. There we go. Look at that. What a beautiful font.
Ringing the cash register.
And you got shorts here too.
Still button up.
Yeah. Wow. Well, boxer shorts.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And what else we got?
And finally, this is the kind of, how can I say, text of the school for tailor.
There's tailoring cutter.
Tailoring cutter. And one year text of the 1898. So, yes, way of measurement for the inverness coat or everything like this. So, this kind of technical book is very important for my, how can I say?
For your research, right?
Yes, primal research. So, yes, I combine, always I combining this kind of stuff together.
Lovely. How to become a cutter, or easy lessons for young beginners. Wow. July 14, 1898. So if you wanted to be a cutter back then, you just need to grab a copy of this magazine and read this article. And you're set. You're off to the races.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
This is really wonderful literature. Thank you so much for showing us this.
Yes. Of course, I'm using many of the, how can I say, photo books for images, but actually this kind of technical book is a, how can I say, other part of my work.
See. Ooh, look at that. Corpulent frock. A frock for fat people. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore. Okay, let's move on then.
Yep.
Thank you for showing us this. Okay, so Nakagomi-san, this is just part of your private archive of vintage garments. Show us some interesting stuff.
Yeah, this is a very small part of my archive. So, for example, like, this is our Kies model. So, based on inspiration from Kies van Dongen, Dutch painter. So, narrow double-breasted, and kind of a pivot sleeve for the functionality, and draw code inside for the waist shape. So I would like to introduce the, how can I say, small pieces for this. So first of all, fabric was start from here. So of course yarn count and weaving construction is a little bit different, but how can I say, I pick up the shape of the yarn surface. I pick up this from this. So for example, like a little bit slubby weft side. So that's why even though plain weave, this kind of fabric having a very strong character. So that's why I I analyzed this fabric and developed my own one. So, and of course, no double-breasted work jacket is very famous in French and Dutch and Belgian or something. So this one is French. So based on this also, and inside draw code detail I pick up from this one. So combined together, and pivot sleeve for the functionality is pick up from this hunting jacket. Actually, this is a very genuine hunting jacket with a big game pocket inside.
Oh wow!
So,
Montana cloth.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's American too.
Yes, yes.
St. Paul's, Minnesota.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or St. Paul, Minnesota. So cool.
So for this one item, so combined together with the French, Dutch, German, and Switzerland, something like that. This one is old gardener jacket from Switzerland, but not quite old. So maybe from end of 70s or 80s because overlock on the top. So, but anyway, so sleeve design is very nice and functional. So that's why this is the basic pattern for the Armoury exclusive Charles model.
That's right.
So
because the Charles coat was all about like lifting your arms up, so it's designed for shooting. So we needed like a very mobile sleeve.
Yes, that's why I pick up the cutting from here.
And then these pieces were also, like all these pieces, the ideas from these pieces went into the Sorel collection at Coherence too, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the Sorel collection?
Sorel collection is, how can I say, inspiration is the same. So every time our inspiration of our collection is from intellectual or artist. So, but main collection of Coherence is very outerwear, just concentrate to outerwear. So, but Sorel is a little bit, how can I say, kind of a workwear for their atelier. So, inspiration is the same, kind of a type of the people is the same, but our occasion is different. So that's why items are a little bit different. Yeah.
It's really interesting too because the Sorel pieces are similar in look, but more sophisticated, like more complicated. There's more detail to it.
Yes. Personally, of course, personally, I'm a big fan of the genuine workwear, old one. But sometimes, so how can I say? If I wear it in the city nowadays, so sometimes need a inside pocket or something, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I put the pocket in pocket for the mobile phone or how can I say closable pocket inside and other side of inside the pocket.
Well,
so
even things like the selvage detail are here. It's so interesting.
Cool. Big, because how can I say? Folded seam. This detail finish more thinner than folded seam. So that's why.
I see. Cool. All right. What else?
And this one's how can I say? Actually, for the vintage garments, I'm not a collector, so that's why. Even though very rare piece or very expensive piece is not my business. So this one is, how can I say, maybe second or third label of Miss Sony. Maybe it looks like from 80s, but actually inside. Way of facing is very rational, so very simple, but how can I say, body lining separate from out body, so that's why I'm gonna feel so soft and light. So
it's very practical.
Maybe this one is not expensive overcoat, but this one is one of the big hint of my flood collection. Flood collection is using lightweight fabric and focus on the lightness of the item. So that's why this one is one of the very good examples. So even though the item was not expensive or rare, so this one is very good reference for the, how can I say, technical side.
Amazing. Okay.
This one is very easy to read. My inspiration for my trousers.
Well, Sam too. Sam, our cameraman, is wearing the same pair of trousers.
Work trousers, high back, V yoke. Yes, this kind of stitches. This is one other element. This was bespoke sports trousers from UK. Yes.
I call like cricket trousers.
Yeah, kind of that. So I combine together.
Nice.
And these two fabric is inspiration for, maybe you remembered our 5th anniversary special fabric, NEP fabric.
This fabric is amazing.
Yeah. This is very chunky NEP, genuine Donegal, very old type.
Wow. It's so cool.
And this one is maybe a 80s Elmes, so another type of the NEP fabric.
Wow, it's fabulous. So nice.
Method of spinning is a little bit special, so look a little bit different, but made by a very similar method each other. So that's why I inspired from this one. So made our NEP fabric, NEP tweed fabric. Other than that, maybe this is one of the good reference for the. Let you try.
Sure.
Good this is size 50. Overcoat from 1950s from France. So this is the, how can I say, proof of the, how can I say, sizing of 1950s overcoat in France. And yes, it, small original accessory is there.
Super rain cloth.
Yeah. Robule is the name of the brand. So this brand is still alive, but now they are concentrated just for the, how can I say, uniform for doctors or something like that.
And it was designed for a liner too. You can
Yes.
see the buttonhole for it up there. This fabric is super cool too.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of slate gray with a little bit of green and a little bit of red in it.
Of course, as a reference in the vintage market, so Aqua Scutum or Burley's very popular, but sometimes this kind of French product is very interesting.
Yeah, especially the color. Amazing.
Okay, what else?
And finally, this one is also very, maybe same period with that. So also this one is end of 50s or beginning of 60s. So from Italy, this is maybe their transition period, I mean. Stitch work by machine, but buttonhole by hand, like old Chesterbury. So both side finished
it's
by
double-sided
hand.
too.
So,
Wow.
and this one is.
Is this your size?
No. This one is reversible design.
Oh, wow.
Reversible design in same fabric. I don't know why they do this, but very interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
And of course, with belt. Polo coat and belted Ulster color.
The pockets are a little bit different shape.
Yeah. But anyway, level of the, how can I say, finishing of this garment is very good.
Yeah.
But in the same time, so this very funny or interesting idea is.
Yeah. It's like overkill. It's pretty impressive.
But
I admire their dedication.
anyway, sometimes I how can I say, this kind of work is very inspiring. I mean, this kind of transition period, some kind of work move from handmade to machine made. So most of the people don't want to do hand buttonhole on this on this kind of fabric because very sleepy and not so easy. So, but smelling of this kind of product is very inspiring. For
Definitely.
me. Okay. Other than that is of course. No.
And some other cool stuff. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for showing us these. It's really nice to just see these great examples of vintage pieces, because you can go to a vintage market, but you don't necessarily always find something good. Like, this took you a long time to accumulate also, right? And you had to travel a lot, and you go to a lot of different places and pull it all together. Okay, Nakagomi-san, before we wrap up, we always close we are closing off our interviews with one question, which is, what life lesson or what kind of habit do you have that you keep with you and you do every day that you feel like really helps you? And can you share that with us? So for instance, like David Marks, we interviewed him a couple days ago, and David was like, well, I make sure I write 1 hour every day. Do you have some sort of habit that you think is really useful in your life?
No. this is a little bit weird for Japanese, but cup of milk tea.
Yeah.
In the morning, cup of milk tea, and after dinner, cup of milk tea.
All right.
It's my habit to keep my pace of my day.
Interesting. Okay. I never know where the hell these questions will go. So, cup of milk tea. There you go. All right. Thanks, Nakagomi-san, for your time. Really appreciate it. It's really great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck with the next collection. And everybody, thank you for watching.